ko au, ko Ngāpuhi a te haunui a Paparangi te iwi, ko Ngāti Kawa, Ngāti Pāmoana, ta hapu no o tautai Papakainga, kia ora. Hey, awesome, far out, so many in the room, isn't that cool? My real claim to fame though is 13 years ago when I was living in Wanganui, I inherited a little man who changed my life forever. Kind of had been doing a lot of work in the alcohol space in all sorts of ways, and more recently, I don't know if Ross is in the room, but we did a lot of work in the Indigenous drug policy space as well. And I guess all kind of things have led to me being here today, but really, end of the day, I've got living experience of this issue, and it's so cool, that we're kind of gaining momentum, and so cool that the Minister's coming this afternoon, hopefully to release something, at least anyway, but I have to acknowledge the Minister, considering all the complexities of what he's having to navigate in a very, very complex space. He's chosen to prioritise fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and so, yeah, so cool to meet you. So my honour, really, I'd never met Raawiri in person until today, but his reputation obviously goes beyond all people. And in the many years that I worked in the alcohol space, his name continually came up, particularly in the treaty space. But Raawiri is one of many who's responsible for inspiring much of action on FASD we're hearing over the next couple of days. Through his claim to the Waitangi Tribunal, WAI2624, on 30 November 2016, the chairperson of the Waitangi Tribunal prioritised an inquiry into national significant health issues. This was the beginning of the Health Services and Outcome Kaupapa Inquiry WAI2575. In his Waitangi Tribunal claim, Raawiri claimed, among other things, that the Crown had breached their treaty obligations to Māori by failing to protect them from the unequal and disproportionate harms of alcohol. In addition, the claim asserts that the Crown has breached its treaty obligations by not implementing recommendations laid out by the Law Commission in 2010. In subsequent claim, the Justice Inquiry, Raawiri filed a claim asserting the Crown had failed to protect whānau living with and impacted by FASD. I ask you to put your hands together for the man, Kia ora Raawiri.
A te mea tūtahi me whakawhetai te matua nui i te rangi i te kaihanga o ngā mea katoa. Whakahonore tia te ariki nui, te kuini, ngā waihono i te pō, te tuawaru. E noho nei i runga te ahurewa tapu o ngōna tūpuna o tōna pāpā tūheitia pō te tau te whero, te tuawhitu. Nāna nei ngā manaakitanga kia tau ki tōna tinana. Tēnā koutou i o tātou tini mate no tēnā o tātou marae maha. Koutou, kua whetu rangitia ki te korowai o Ranginui. Koutou, kua wehe atu ki te pō, ki te tua o te ārai, ki te oki-okinga i o tātou tupuna, haere atu rā. Kia koe, te rangatira e Gilbert, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koe. Ko koe hoki te rangatira, te whanaunga e tau. Tēnei te mihi. Tēnei te mihi. Tēnei te mihi ki a koe. Koutou mā. Tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou. A tēnā tātou katoa. Ko ue nuku te atua. Ko hua kai waka te rangatira. Ko te waitamata te moana. Ko kai whare, te taniwha. Ko whau te maunga, ko hua tau te tangata. Ko mā tukutu rai te tumu whakarai. Ko te mānuka, te waiora. Ko te atai rehia, te wahine. Ko ngā titiata, te iwi. Ko ngā wairua kei wainga nui. Ko Raawiri Ratu, ahau, tēnā koutou. I want to begin by acknowledging Alcohol Health Watch, Andrew, for organising this important event. I came in at the latter stages after crashing their party and saying, this is how you're going to do it. To accommodate Māori, this is how you're going to do it. So I want to acknowledge you, Andrew, and your team, and Alcohol Health Watch, and also acknowledge at the same time the years that Alcohol Health Watch have been at the forefront of arguing and being an advocate around alcohol harm. I also want to acknowledge the Māori Health Directorate for matching their commitment to working toward addressing the impacts of FASD on Māori with action. We are used to, as a people, hearing a whole lot of promises. But I want to acknowledge the Māori Health Directorate. I want to acknowledge the Public Health Agency, who are also driving change. Koutou māt, tēnā koutou. I also want to acknowledge the Māori Coalition. Kaitiaki o te iho tātai a rongo for being who you are. And for working on the front line for the benefit of our people in the FASD space. Today, I stand with other Māori representing the voices of whānau, where the impacts of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder and alcohol harm more generally are profoundly felt. From the get-go, I do not claim to be an expert on FASD. There are more knowledgeable Māori experts in this room, so I will not speak about it in depth. However, what I will draw on is the extensive and in-depth evidence of our 2-year plus rangahau, our research kaupapa tarapu, when translated means a journey toward discovery, conducted with Māori on the harmful effects of alcohol that alcohol has had on Māori across Tāmakimakaurau, through their stories, their lived experiences. And that kōrero also includes FASD. Just as an aside, last Tuesday, I had the privilege of presenting to the Honourable Dr. Shane Reti what I call the high-level document, the outcomes of that research. I hate the word research, but I'm going to use it here anyway, which details alcohol harm as expressed by whānau across Tāmakimakaurau. It is brutal reading. It is absolutely brutal reading. And today, you will get glimpses on the screen of some of the kōrero that has been told to us. What you'll see on the screen today in terms of the slides is kōrero from whānau around FASD. I'm sure that discussions over the next 2.5 days will focus on the multifaceted nature of FASD, among other things. Still, my challenge to you, particularly researchers and academics, is to humanise any data you may present and not just see them as numbers. The tukanga, the methodology used by our organisation in our rangahau, heard powerful stories that breathed life into those numbers. There's a distinct difference between being counted and being truly heard. While administrative data has its role, it continues to reflect predetermined narratives rather than the realities faced by Māori. At the recent WAI2624 disability phase of the Health Services and Outcomes Inquiry before the Waitangi Tribunal, Tribunal Commissioner Professor Linda Smith challenged Waikaha Disability Services with these words: "We need to think about data completely differently, putting minds to work, putting engagement and relationships to work, because if it's just status quo data with some tinkering, that's not going to achieve what claimants want." This call to action implores you, researchers and academics, particularly those in the alcohol harm space, to evaluate current data practices and consider how you engage authentically with the communities you claim or aim to serve. To understand the harm experienced by Māori, you must commit to deep listening, a practice that requires you to confront uncomfortable truths and your preconceived prejudices and pursue transformative change. It's about more than acknowledging the existence of FASD and alcohol harm more generally. It's about recognising its roots in our history, our culture, and our lived experiences. We're consistently told that New Zealand has a significant drinking problem. Research, and this isn't Māori research either, by the way, because there hasn't been any until now. So research shows that 1 in 5 adults engage in hazardous drinking. However, despite the wealth of research in Aotearoa, there remains a glaring absence of credible Māori kōrero or data on alcohol harm until now. The available data fails to present the realities of alcohol-related harms that impact whānau, hapū, iwi, and hāpori until now. The failure further highlights how traditional Western methodologies marginalise Māori voices, leading to solutions, programs and services that do not reflect our realities or needs. Through our rangahau, we acknowledge this new kōrero using Māori methodologies. We prioritise the voices of Māori directly affected. The tūkanga we employ is a direct response to the failings of mainstream research approaches that attempt to collect data to improve outcomes for Māori. Our approach provides a safe environment for our whānau to share their stories, empowering whānau whānui to share their real-life experience of living with FASD and the broader effects of alcohol harm. During the kōrero, whānau also evaluates the effectiveness of health system solutions, programs and services, as evidenced in a lot of the kōrero that you're going to be seeing popping up on the screen. This methodology is not driven by ambitions to climb the ladder, career ladders, or fulfill publication quotas. It seeks to serve our whānau and engage our whānau to create real, lasting change. We don't ask whānau to fill out surveys that reduce their experiences to predetermined categories mentally constructed by others. Or worse, to write other in a blank line. We do not collect kōrero from whānau to reinforce or validate existing stereotypes placed on us by others. Instead, we listen with our ngākau, our hearts, and wairua, as the voices of whānau are amplified. The stories of lived experience tell their own narratives, underscoring the necessity for deep listening. The methodology is founded on mātauranga Māori to guide and inform each journey step. Unlike Pākehā methodologies previously used in research on Māori, which have an academic arrogance of predetermined outcomes, prescribed structures, and assumed solutions. Our work was created around kōrero with Māori. It recognises the legitimacy of mātauranga Māori, which has withstood the test of time and is now described as scientific theories. Māori have historically been subject to an ongoing process of being researched on rather than with or for. This is where our work differs. The transformational power of Māori research by Māori, for Māori, lies in how it positions whānau who share their kōrero as the experts. As the experts. Few researchers have utilised this expertise of Māori in relation to lived experiences of alcohol harm to advocate for and determine systemic change. Our rangahau aims to understand alcohol harm through the kōrero of the lived experience of Māori and learn how to prevent further harm to Māori. It prioritises Māori perspectives, practices, and primacies over Pākehā. This work centralises and normalises Māori beliefs, values, and experiences rather than marginalising them through a westernised lens. Further, the uniqueness of our methodology is the intentional positioning of mātauranga Māori to guide and inform both the identification of harm and solutions to prevent future harms. It creates a benchmark. It creates a benchmark built from Māori lived experiences of alcohol harm that can be used to measure current responses, develop new solutions, redefine current definitions of harm, and envision innovative prevention strategies. Our approach aims to centre and validate Māori beliefs, values, and lived experiences instead of marginalising them through a Western perspective. This allows Māori to openly express their experiences of alcohol harm, including the hurt, pain, and the impact on their spiritual, physical, mental, and family well-being through their kōrero. In reality, having a label of FASD doesn't contribute anything to anybody, unless it is to create positive change. And right now, that diagnosis appears to serve an administrative purpose only. For Māori, FASD is not merely a clinical diagnosis. It is a manifestation of broader social and historical traumas faced by our people. These narratives are not just anecdotes, but vital pieces of evidence highlighting the complexities surrounding FASD and Māori. They remind us that we are not dealing with isolated cases, but rather interconnected lived experience of broader systemic issues that requires Māori-led responses. To prevent further harm, we must prioritise Māori perspectives and whānau-centred solutions to create stronger whānau, building stronger hapori that experience stronger futures. This is a vision Māori collectively strive for. We recognise that Māori have the knowledge, skills and capacity to control their health and destiny, and research developed by Māori for Māori will help to inform systemic change so that mātauranga, tikanga and mōhiotanga guide us towards a future free from alcohol-related harms. Māori relevant services, programs and solutions that resonate with the lived experiences of Māori affected by FASD and alcohol harm more generally are critical. The Crown needs to invest in initiatives that empower Māori and position them to design and implement solutions that respond to and prevent alcohol harm. We have heard the voices that reveal various faces of alcohol harm, visible and invisible. From stories of alcohol-related violence hidden behind the front doors of whānau to the tangible presence of the sale and supply of alcohol in Māori communities, the harms are insidious. In your attempts to work towards solutions, ask yourself this: whose voices are you prioritising? Let me say it again in case you missed it. Whose voices are you prioritising? Are you seeking to engage with Māori who have lived these experiences, or are you relying on frameworks that have historically excluded Māori? These are essential questions you must confront to make any meaningful change. During our rangahau, whānau have articulated that alcohol use is often a symptom of deeper traumas, historical, intergenerational, and personal. Many have shared how alcohol was used to numb the overwhelming emotions tied to these traumas. Researchers and academics must shift your perspective from judgment to understanding. Researchers and academics must recognise that trauma underlies alcohol use for many of our whānau. Their experiences of pain, loss, and grief must be acknowledged if you are to understand the full scope of FASD and alcohol harm more generally and its impacts. While FASD diagnostic guidelines for Aotearoa are available, our whānau speak of long waiting lists prohibiting a diagnosis. Each kōrero shared is a taonga. Each kōrero shared is a taonga. A deep and personal story of a lived experience with alcohol harm. And out of these stories comes their definition of harm. Not yours. Their definition of harm. A definition of harm is not predetermined by us or crafted from previous theories or research. For our purpose, harm is determined by Māori through their stories, patterns, and connections to harm, which are not assumed by a universal definition of alcohol harm. Through this work, harm will be viewed as connected experiences and complex expressions, not a single articulated term. Finally, this work seeks to move from a disease deficit model to a holistic approach model developed by Māori for Māori. A model that embraces and releases the expertise of Māori to lead his holistic alcohol harm prevention strategies, establish innovative Māori view responses to lived alcohol harm, and reinvent alcohol harm promotion across the motu. We acknowledge that there is already research on the impact of alcohol consumption in Aotearoa. Numerous studies have highlighted the concerning prevalence of alcohol-related harm in Aotearoa, indicating that it surpasses the harm caused by illegal drugs. However, none of these studies represent harm being experienced by Māori. We must also challenge the current research methodologies. Whose knowledge are you valuing? Again, let me ask you that question in case you missed it. Whose knowledge are you valuing? Are you creating space for methodologies that honour Māori ways of knowing? How can you ensure that the voices of Māori are not just included, but are central to the conversation? What steps are you taking to dismantle the barriers that prevent meaningful engagement? It is a real hoha. If you don't understand what that word, frustrating, annoying, I could be a lot more blunt than that. But it is a real hoha that Māori have to repeatedly demonstrate the alcohol-related harm they face to governments, health agencies, and NGOs, who, while acknowledging the issues, often ask the question, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? That was a response from commissioners when I used to appear before the district licensing committees. Oh yes, Mr. Ratu, we know that Māori are disproportionately impacted by alcohol harm, but where's your evidence? Well, you know what? We've got evidence now, especially for Tāmakimakaurau. So if I encounter a DLC who asks the question, where's your evidence? Oh, hang on, mangere, o tara, manurewa? Tell me which one. Oh, here it is, here it is. So it becomes a real hoha when we have to continue to trundle out the same kōrero time and time again. But I live in hope. I live in hope because at least I can point to two agencies who take this work very, very seriously. In my engagement with the Minister of Health, it is very clear to me that he has acted on what he said he was going to do. I'd like more, obviously. But the fact of the matter is, he has acted. And having the two agencies, who I acknowledged before, who are going hard out and driving change, I live in hope. So, where's the evidence? Our work and the work of other rōpū Māori aims to provide that evidence grounded in the lived experience of Māori. Through our own rangahau, we continue to amplify voices, whānau voices, and advocate for a future where Māori can strive free from impacts of FASD and alcohol-related harms. Transformational, action is needed to change the lives and futures of Māori in Aotearoa. Prevention requires open conversations about FASD and alcohol harm more generally. This includes adopting innovative research methodologies where Māori take the lead, and non-Māori play a support role but are 2 paces behind us. Stories of FASD and alcohol harm must not just be heard, but woven into the fabric of how we approach health, research, and policy in Aotearoa. Kia ora tātou. Just before I sit down, you'll see up on the screen the top 6 harmful themes expressed by whānau during our rangahau. That's the top 6. There is plenty more where that came from, and that's available on the website down later on this afternoon. It's available now, I'm just told, on that website there. There's also another, I think I'm correct, that there is a second fact sheet that deals with alcohol harm more generally. So you've got two fact sheets on there. One is the top 6, alcohol harm more generally, and top 6 FASD. Kia ora.